If anyone wants water, there's ice cold water back here in the cooler. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little bit after 7. We're going to go ahead and get this started. We are being live streamed by Beltsville News. I know personally of several people who are going to join us that way as opposed to coming in. And then we also have Greenbelt City Council.
Channel 7.
Channel 7. ABC 7 is also here with us.
Wonderful.
Chaplain Schaefer, did you want to start the meeting, please? And for posterity's sake, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. So good evening, and I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight and for your continued support. We still don't have complete resolution with Chief Green and the county in regards to our career staffing, but the fact that they are still here is solely because of our communities and the support that we've gotten from all of you. We need to continue to speak up and be heard. Tonight's meeting was originally scheduled solely to inform you about where we are in the process and how we're moving along in regards to communications with the county. However, since I originally announced this meeting, the chief issued a new staffing policy on June 7th that as of June 30th, she intends to temporarily move the career personnel from Greenbelt Station 35, Bowie Station 39, Berwyn Heights, Station 14, and Bunker Hill, Station 55. Yesterday, it was announced that both Station 35 and I believe Station 55 will now continue to have ALS ambulance service from the hours of 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. at their stations. That is through some of the statistics that they've pulled. Apparently, traditionally throughout the county, 11 to 11 is the busiest times for EMS service, and so they are going to continue to provide that EMS service at both of those stations. They were giving a little bit more notice than what we were. They didn't have to find out through rumors. But the cities of the areas affected continue to work with the county leadership, and hopefully they'll get better resolution than just 2 ambulances. Hopefully they'll see some progress. What does this mean for us? What it means is with Station 35 not having any suppression units in service, and Station 14 not having any suppression units in service, it is likely that the units from Beltsville will be in areas throughout the county that are not the Beltsville, Mansville communities. They will now be required to cover a bigger footprint for fire and EMS services. So please continue to call, write, be informed, make sure that our citizens are protected the way that they should be protected. The original reason we decided to host this meeting is so that I can provide you with a timeline of how things are progressing and the results of the station assessment that we finally received on June 4th. As you know, we had 2 previous meetings. One was here, and you all were heard by the county fire chief. The other meeting was held at the church location up on Annandale Road. The county gave their presentation of how they were going to proceed with services for the Beltsville, Mansville areas. When I stood up to speak to clarify some of her positioning, I was told that I was not allowed to speak. So hopefully tonight we can clarify anything that you may have had a question about regarding where and how we got to where we are. After the meetings that we had up on Annandale Road, March 1st, the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department sent a letter to the council unconvinced of the poor air quality and potential hazards in our station, and that we wanted to clarify our position on the placing of temporary trailers on our grounds. The county fire chief did secure trailers. We have not seen them, but apparently they were purchased from Loudoun County so that we can provide temporary housing if needed to our staff while we are going through any scope of work that needs to be done at the station. On March 4th, the station assessment was started. Lino was our community representative, and myself, our vice president, and the team from the county was here for the station assessment. It wrapped up on March 9th, so within a week, they were able to complete everything that they needed to do. During the assessment, I asked how long the air quality test would take. The subcontractor that performed that quality test said it would only take them about a week to complete their paperwork. So I requested a copy of the air quality test as soon as possible so that we could determine whether we did indeed have any hazardous air quality in the fire station. Although the subcontractor's letter in the station assessment was dated on March 12th, we were told that they did not have the results, and we did not get the results for the air quality test until June 4th with the rest of the assessment. On March 19th at 6 p.m., we received a proposed MOU from the county to review for a meeting that was to occur the next day. On March 20th, our board of directors had a virtual meeting with Chief Green. We expressed our concerns with the MOU. More specifically, inside of the MOU, they have a 15-year term listed, which we do not understand. If this is supposed to be a temporary project, we cannot understand why they wanted this to be a 15-year term with the memorandum of understanding they wanted us to sign. And there is also a clause in the memorandum of understanding that the county would be able to retain our land if anything happened if the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department dissolved. The county attorney, Chief Green, and Chief White all assured us that this MOU, it was standard language and that it could be changed to fit the needs of this particular project. We also inquired at this meeting about the permitting and the use and occupancy of the Butler building that is across the street, and we were told that that would not be an issue. The Butler building across the street was built primarily for storage only. It was permitted through a mandatory referral, which Mrs. Sweat will give you a little more information on that later. And we did not believe that the use and occupancy could be changed quite as easily as we were being told that it could be. On April 2nd, Chief Green reached out to inquire about the progress that the board of directors had made in deciding what we wanted to do with going forward with the MOU. On April 4th, I replied that we weren't inclined to sign the MOU without seeing the assessment because we weren't sure as to the scope of work that would need to be done, or even if it was necessary to vacate the building while the work was being done, but that we were willing to store the trailers while we were waiting for everything to move through the process, so the acquisition of the trailers would not have to be delayed. On April 4th, Chief Green replied that these trailers were arranged at the request of the community and the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department. We did not specifically say that we wanted the trailers. We put that out there as an option if the fire station was not safe for our members to be in. So far, we had not had any evidence that it was not safe for our members to be in this fire station. So we had not specifically said, yes, we want them. On April 9th, the community work group that Chief Green said she was going to set up met. And during this work group, we were told that the assessment report would be completed the week of April 26th. On April 26th, the county received the assessment report. Shortly after that, members of county agencies met to discuss the assessment report, but nobody from the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department was invited to this meeting, and the report was not shared with us. On May 10th, I received communications from Chief Green, and she informed me that they did not have a complete report. The inspection of the fuel pumps, which I specifically requested prior to March 4th, and the cost assessment was not included in the assessment, so it was sent back to the vendor to complete. I received no explanation as to why we could not even be provided with a preliminary report so that we could review it. There's no reason that we couldn't have reviewed that report without the fuel pumps or the cost analysis. On May 13th, at the request of Senator Rosapep, I sent a list of 21 concerns and or items that we would like to see included or changed in the Memorandum of Understanding so that in good faith we could move forward with processing the Memorandum of Understanding in anticipation of the assessment finally being completed. On May 14th, we pulled permit history on our property, and there is no evidence in what I was able to get off of the county website that any permits have even been applied for. On May 23rd, we received a letter from the county attorney that they would be willing to reduce the term of the MOU from 15 years to 8 years, but that no other of our 21 requests could be accommodated. To me, when you submit 21 requests and only half of one of them can be accommodated, that is not a negotiation. That is a coercion, and they are trying to strong-arm us into signing this MOU, especially since we had not even seen the assessment report yet. On May 26th, I forwarded this information to our Senate team, stating that we don't believe there is any negotiation in good faith, and that this was more coercion and that we are being strong-armed. On May 28th, our attorney reached out to the county attorney. On May 28th, at approximately 7 p.m., the county responded and agreed to 3 of our requests, but that the MOU had to be signed by Friday, May 31st, 3 days, or they would seek other options. A negotiation of this magnitude doesn't occur in 3 days. On May 28th, I did respond that it was unlikely to happen, as the board of directors of the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department would need to meet and agree on any decision and any final MOU that had been drawn up. On May 29th, our attorneys, the county and the Beltsville's attorneys, spoke about the mandatory referral, which was used to get the approval to originally build the building across the street on our property. On May 30th, our attorney sent the proposed MOU with changes agreeable to us to the county in order to get things moving. On May 31st, the day that the MOU was to be signed, the county responded at 5 p.m., close of business, and said that it appears that we're at an impasse and that no agreement could be reached and that they would probably look for other options. On June 3rd, I sent an email to our Senate representatives that the county did not try to negotiate in good faith, and it seemed that we weren't going to have an agreement. Going forward, I do have a meeting, myself and Senator Rosapep, on June 20th to discuss this so that he can understand better where we're going. And on June 24th, Senator Rosapep has agreed to mediate between myself and Barry Stanton, who is the Director of Public Safety. I'm not sure exactly where Chief Green is to be included in all this, but we are now moving on to the Director of Public Safety. On June 4th, we finally received a copy of the assessment report. What we have seen in the assessment report, these are all the emails that went back and forth of the timeline I just read to you. The assessment report starts out with, the fire department has taken remarkable care of their existing facility given their age. The main concerns was the second floor has no elevator access and is therefore non-compliant with ADA. The Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department, along with help from our Senate partners and our county councilman, Jernoga, we have been able to acquire a $1.5 million grant that is going to help us become ADA compliant with the addition of an elevator to our community hall. So although that is an issue right now, and we have recognized that issue, we are working on that to correct it. The facilities do not meet current building ADA requirements, which the building was built in 1947. This was before there was any codes. And at this time, we're not required to meet these standards. However, again, our elevator project will help us to close this gap, especially in our community hall. The rest of the fire station, with the bunk rooms and the bathrooms upstairs, are private living quarters of our firefighters, so there will be no public access. So although we were cited time and time again for not meeting ADA requirements there, if the firefighters are meeting the NFPA 1582 guidelines for physical health, our upstairs living areas are private, so they would not be accessible to the public. And as long as we're meeting the physical requirements, we're not really in need of ADA compliancy in our facilities up here. The report goes on to say, our overhead doors are in good shape. Our windows are in fair condition. Kitchen and dining appliances appear to be in good condition. The finishes in the kitchen and dining fairly new and in good condition. The sleeping quarters finishes are in good condition. The volunteer dorms finishes are in good condition. Structural deficiencies. Station 31 has no severe deficiencies. It goes on to mention that the fire station has no significant training yard or space for recreational amenities, as most of it is used for parking in the fuel station. We own the entire field across the street. If they need to do training or any recreation, we have plenty of room here. They're not restricted to stay on this side of the street. The overhead doors are undersized for today's larger apparatus. Unfortunately, that is the case in most older firehouses today. The firehouse that I personally work at was built in 1916. We have 1 inch of clearance on each side of the mirror when I back the fire truck into the firehouse. So being undersized for today's apparatus, is not a unique situation to Beltsville or Prince George's County Volunteer Fire Department. They state that only one person can use the bathroom facilities in the bunk room at a time. We have 2 bathrooms there. They are separated, so 2 people can use it, and they are dual sex, so either male or female can use it. If they require that we make one a male and one a female, we would still be able to accommodate both sexes, but we do have 2 bathrooms that were built less than 10 years ago that are accessible to our members. And again, they say the finishes and appliances and the finishes in the bunk room are in good condition. Excellent condition, actually. Career bunk room is in excellent condition. The air quality test the Chief Green mentioned as the primary concern for the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department, we passed. Lino has a more thorough knowledge of that, but he has agreed to.
Yeah, just going over the report again. There was nothing there to get go. One thing I did catch through the inspection was the exhaust system for the fire trucks goes up the side of the building, and it goes about 3 feet above the edge of the building. Well, it's right next to the ductwork and unit that supply the bunkhouses up here. So if timing's right, somebody's up here in the bunkhouse sleeping, and the car goes out, and that unit's on, and those fans kick on, it's gonna suck the fumes up, shoot them up, and there's a good chance either downdraft or just natural sucking in the air will cause fumes to go in. So they mentioned that in the report as well. But again, the numbers that they had were all below the EPA numbers that they weren't not looking for that. They were looking for something else to hang their hat on, and they didn't get it. The other thing was the asbestos. Some of the samples that they took were negative, and make a comment that again, behind the hidden walls, again, as old as this firehouse is, there could be any old pipes behind the wall that may have it, but when you open it up, you'll know it. They recommended that it should be assumed to be asbestos behind the walls if there's anything there to have it tested. But other than that, again, on the air quality, it was, if the exhaust systems that they have in place are being used correctly, they work. And the levels have stayed low enough that they're not dangerous.
So again, we have the results of the air quality test that was done by the subcontractor, completed on March 14th. Although I had asked for a copy of it on March 20th, I was told by the county that they did not have it. So whether it was forwarded to them or not, I don't know, but there was nothing found. So that was all for naught.
Hey Marge, what date was that assessment report? What date?
The assessment, they originally came in here on March 4th. They completed the total assessment of the entire building on March 9th.
Okay.
We received the report on June 4th. Okay. So I have a summary of major HVAC equipment systems for our building. The hall and kitchen has a remaining useful life of 10 years. The boardroom has a remaining useful life of 10 years. The career bunk room and the ladies' lounge, 15 years. The bunk room, 15 years. The building, over 20 years. The day room and common areas would need to be replaced. The kitchen, lounge, offices, and other common areas have 12 years of remaining useful life. This is now into the heating elements of it. What I just read was the air conditioning. The hydronic baseboard system has over 20 years left. Gas unit heaters, 10 years. Hot water unit heaters, 5 years. The window air conditioning units that are in the engine bay need to be replaced. And the kitchen hood and exhaust fan has approximately 10 years left in it. So we have a lot of life left in this firehouse. The assessment ends with recommending replacement of this building. which is, I think, kind of maybe what she was after all along. In the 2025 to 2030 proposed capital improvement budget, they have Beltsville getting a new firehouse. And when they list the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department, replacement, total projected cost, $8.9 million. That does not include land acquisition. So I don't know where they were anticipating that they would get the land for this new building. However, the Laurel Fire EMS Station 49, Laurel Rescue, had a project that was already supposed to have been started and had to be delayed. It's not scheduled to start to 2029 according to this report. And Oxon Hill had a project that has been delayed and will restart in 2029. So if we're only in 2024 and projects from 2024 are already being delayed to 2029, I'm not sure how long it would be if they would decide to build us a new firehouse. The projected cost to get this station back up to what the assessment is recommending, and that is with all the, with everything that they recommended, is $3.6 million approximately. That includes putting the elevator in. As I've told you before, we've already secured a grant, so much of this $3.6 million and some of the other upgrades that are being recommended are already going to be absorbed by the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department in the state of Maryland, who provided us with this grant. So the total cost to upgrade and renovate our station would not cost the county $3.6 million. It will cost it much less because we're going to be putting in the money that we've attained through our grant. The cost to replace the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department is $9+ million. And again, no land acquisition is included in this. So in the memorandum of understanding where the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department dissolved, they acquire our land. I'm not sure if that's something that they were anticipating or not. So where we are with the memorandum of understanding is that we have not made any movement towards coming to an agreement with the placement of the trailers. After seeing the assessment report, it still has not been explained to us why the career staff would even be needed to be moved out of this firehouse. Because the air quality is fine, the means of egress from the bunk room has been deemed to be structurally sound. The only thing that they did cite is that it doesn't have an awning over it, which we can accommodate, but the steps themselves are structurally sound, so there's no reason that we can't use those steps. We have pressed the county for explanation as to why they can't provide us with any permits or any applications of permits. And we have also asked to be indemnified in the event that anything would come back on the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department, since we were permitted for that building under a mandatory referral. Across the street, next to that building, is where they're proposing to put the trailers, and they want to attach it to that building across the street with a breezeway of types so that we can run the apparatus in and out of there. That building was built primarily for storage. It is not sprinklered. It's storage. It's not for occupancy. However, if they build a breezeway from the trailers to that building, it is now going to be semi-occupied, and the apparatus is going to be permanently housed in there. So we are still unclear how they can legally attach anything to that building or use that property for the placement of trailers. And our attorney, who has asked for more information and how we're going to get around the mandatory referral, has not gotten that information. Ms. Sweat is going to explain to you a little more what a mandatory referral is, because I'm not very well versed on that.
Good evening. and thank you all for allowing me to be here. Mandatory referral, and I'm gonna ask the engineers in the room to forgive my simple, plain English explanation. Basically, the land that we're standing on in 2015 was zoned as rural. Now, you all know we recently went through a rezoning in the county, so I'm taking you back to 2015 because that's when the mandatory referral was issued. This land is rural land as well as land across the street. What that meant at the time was, in order to put a structure on it that would become basically a habitable or inhabited structure, people living there, you had to do a lot of work. And there were some things that needed to be done. For instance, water, sewer, permanent electricity. The county does have access to all of those things. There's a water main out there in the street that you could connect to, but that land itself is not connected to that water main. So there's no access for water or sewer across the street, which is why you had to do the mandatory referral in 2015. To put people in a structure, you gotta have a bathroom, run water, you gotta have power. What park and planning did, because this did not go through deep high. This had to go through park and planning. Park and planning is where the mandatory referral process takes place. And over a period of several months, and I literally reviewed the documents, fought back and forth with Beltsville about that storage unit, or the barn, that's what we affectionately call it, the barn, fought about that barn, and whether there would be, because in 2015, buildings now, the code says you gotta have sprinkler system for a fire. Fought back and forth, and the engineers worked a deal such that there would be no people habitating in that building. No office work, none of that. That building is a barn. It is only for storage. Not only that, you can't store anything outside that building. So you can't use the vacant lot for storage under the mandatory referral. That was approved by a review, or recommended, shall I say, for approval by a reviewer at Park and Planning, and approved by the Park and Planning Board, and then sent to Deep High for the issuance of permits. That's the process. There are several other restrictions on the land across the street because literally it's being treated like farm land with a barn. That's the simplest way I know to tell you. And if anybody in here is a farmer, you know what that means. In Park and Planning's eyes, if that building catches on fire, it's expendable. We don't have to save it because there's no life in there. There's no life depending upon it for shelter. Now, what happens if you put a trailer over there? That changes everything. First of all, you violate restriction of storing something in the yard. Can't do that. Got to get that changed. If you connect a breezeway to that building, now you've made that building a habitable structure because you intend for people to go in and out, back and forth. So now you got to have sewer, you got to have running water, you got to have constant power. And as I mentioned, the county has that out there. There is a water main there, but you're going to have to incur the cost to connect to that water main and that sewer main. You're also going to have to incur the cost to run the electricity, so it is constant. Now let's talk about the sewer, because Margie didn't mention this. There was an issue raised about the sewer backing up into the firehouse. It's not the firehouse. Beltsville actually had to contract with an outside vendor because that was not reviewed during the county's assessment, and the outside vendor confirmed for us it's not the firehouse. There's a blockage down the way at the creek, and it's causing all the sewer to back up this way. And because of where this fire station sits on the land, it's kind of low land compared to the houses that are uphill. This firehouse is catching You know, they say all stuff flows downhill. Yeah, that's what's happening. So we got something else we got to think about if you're going to connect the sewer across the street. Now, the blockage at the creek has been reported to WSSC, and we expect that they will come and take care of that, because they generally respond when you call them fairly quickly. But again, it's going to be a very costly endeavor to put a trailer and store fire engines for daily use across the street. And we'd have to go back to park and planning to get that mandatory referral overruled. And 9 times out of 10, park and planning is going to require compliance with the current code. It's going to cost a lot of money. A lot of money. And the county has not talked about paying for any of that. And unfortunately, the reviewer who did the recommendation in 2015 no longer works for park and planning. And I have yet to get a call back or a response from my written correspondence about what we would need to do to lift the mandatory referral. But DPI cannot do it alone. And so until we can get answers from the Park and Planning Board, it would be very risky for this fire department to agree to put anything over there, because if there is a violation, the violation goes against the property owner, not the occupant or the lessee.
Can I ask the dumbest question in the room?
Sure.
Not that long ago, there was an issue at West Landing Hills, Volunteer Fire Station 48, where the roof drains were not correctly maintained, which caused the flood. They brought trailers out there for that situation. They were there for an extended period of time. Good luck, right? They put the trailer in the parking lot next to the firehouse. So I understand, or at least I don't know what the legal part of it is. For years I've been coming to things at this firehouse, including convention centers to here, and there's never been a problem parking over there. Is that legal?
Parking?
Yeah.
Yes, because it's not permanent.
So has anybody asked or anybody brought up? The trailer should fit in that parking lot.
We have.
What's the answer?
That was actually
What's the answer?
That was actually where our board of directors wanted it placed. And we were told that that's not the ideal situation, because they would still have to come through the firehouse to get to the apparatus. That they wanted it free and clear of the firehouse.
Doesn't that door go right into your ambulance then?
It does.
But you'd have to come across the street from the trailer.
Yes. So, yes. Well, he's talking about, we asked to have the trailers put in the parking lot here.
Right, but I'm saying, the chief was saying it's okay for them to come from across the street in a trailer.
Yes. Well, that's why she wants to build a breezeway from the trailers to the barn so that they can have access to that. Yes, Mr. Perkins.
So, I want to go back to your MOU.
Uh-huh.
I'm a little slow, but it appears to me if you signed that and then you defaulted, who gets the property?
That would then go to the county.
Okay, I ain't as slow as I thought it would.
All plans for the placement, alterations, repairs, and maintenance for the entire project will be provided by the county. The county will maintain ownership of the trailers while on the property. This is for 15 years after the signing of the agreement. Notwithstanding other requirements of this agreement, in the event of a dissolution of the volunteer fire company, the county and the volunteer fire company may execute an option agreement that grants the county at the county's election to acquire all volunteer company-owned land, facilities, improvements, and apparatus. That was in the MOU they proposed to us. The 15 years was in the MOU that they provided to us, but they wanted us to sign blindly without even seeing the assessment. The assessment is 174 pages. If anyone has not already seen that or would like to see a copy of it, Janice Gardner over here. If you want to put your name and email address, I will make sure that you get a copy of the assessment if you want to read through it.
I have a question. Does the assessment say that the firehouse is uninhabitable?
No, it does
So
not.
why are we still even talking about trailers or any of that if there's no reason for people to move? I'm really kind of confused why any of this is happening now.
I asked that question in one of the meetings, and it was, well, from other projects that we've done on firehouses, construction workers get in the way. I've renovated hospitals, emergency rooms, and had to move my ladder out of the way when they wheel somebody in.
What are they renovating?
Well, if they renovate here, they said the construction workers.
But it didn't sound like anything needed to be renovated.
Right, well,
Everything's good for 10
back then, we thought it was a sewer pipe that
Right,
we
right,
had to
but
fix
saying
here.
now,
So,
why? Is
yeah,
there
we're
a
not
reason
sure.
now to be?
yeah, even that, and again, the trailers in the parking lot, if they need trailers, there's.
But I guess I just want to know why we didn't need them.
And the MOU that they want us to sign does not mention the renovation here or the scope of work that is supposed to occur here. The MOU is strictly for them to place trailers on our property.
That aren't needed.
That, according to the assessment, doesn't appear to be needed to us at this time. If you have the 2025-2030 proposed capital improvements from the county, they have recommended the rehabilitation of 1, 2, 3, 4 other firehouses. All of those firehouses, the total projected cost is right in lines with what it would cost to renovate the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department. So why those 4 other stations are recommended for rehabilitation and we are recommended for replacement, I don't have an answer to that either. That was in the capital improvement plan that was published way before any of this started happening.
Who owns the property of the other 4?
Allentown Road,
Allentown Road.
Allentown Volunteer Fire Department. Berwyn Heights Volunteer Fire Department, Bowie Volunteer Fire Department. Oh, actually, this must be a second page. There's more than 4. I'm sorry. Allentown, Berwyn Heights, Bowie, Chilham, the one on Riggs Road, Station 34, Chilham Station 44, Clinton,
All volunteer owned.
Kentland Volunteer Fire Department. And there was one other, if I can find my. Kentland Volunteer Fire Department, Landover Hills Volunteer Fire Department, which she just kicked the career people out of. The Fire Services Building, which the Landover Hills Volunteer Fire Department, she removed the volunteers from that station. The Fire Services Building, she removed the Volunteer Fire Association from that building. The Marlboro Volunteer Fire Department is slated for rehabilitation.
Is that the one that burned or is it?
No, this is Station 45. Station 2020 is the one that burned. They are slated for replacement. And West Lanham Hills on Good Luck Road is slated for rehabilitation. All of these rehabilitation estimated costs are more than $3 million. Again, Beltsville's estimated cost is more than $3 million, but we've absorbed some of that through our grant. So we still are unclear why we're slated for replacement and not rehabilitation.
This problem, though, is much deeper than with this volunteer issue. Because Chief Green, she's known about a lot of these problems. She has career firehouses that, there's one house in particular I know of that the bunk room has not had air conditioning in 2 years. Their overhead doors are broken, so the apparatus has to sit in the driveway, which is free reign for the neighborhood to get into at any time. So Chief Green is trying to put a quick fix on her inadequacies for running the department. And what she's doing is she's trying to divide the career and the volunteers to cover up her mistakes. The county council, they need to be on board, and they need to be putting pressure on her. County executive needs to be putting pressure on her, and it seems like it's falling on deaf ears. It's got to stop. Right now, the only people who are going to be at risk right now are the citizens here in this room.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is much deeper than just the volunteer house right now.
Yes, ma'am. And especially with the reallocation of career personnel from the other stations, again, that's taking manpower out of our areas to cover other areas as well. I know that she was questioned, and I think Karen has more information on the volunteer application process. Did you get that from Regina?
I haven't, I don't. My understanding is that the volunteer process to be approved in Prince George's County is, it takes a minimum of 6 months. They will tell you it's 3 or 4 months. Reality is it's more in the 6 to 10 month category, which has created a problem for all of the volunteer stations here in the county because, but especially for the stations that are close to, like Beltsville, we've got, Stone's Throw is Montgomery County and Howard County and Anne Arundel County. On the southern end, Anne Arundel, Charles, and Calvert County. To become a volunteer at all of those stations, in all of those counties, it takes significantly less time. So there is a double whammy, hindering the growth of the volunteer stations here in Prince George's County.
It's the same with the hiring process.
And then, thank you, and yes, and
18 months.
even hiring career staff in this county is taking longer than the other jurisdictions. On another subject I do want to talk about though is, like Johanna said, let's not pit the career against the volunteers. One of the things I'm concerned about is when people see that, oh, we're going to build you a shiny new building. There are going to be people in this community who are going to be excited about getting a shiny new building. We've had one school built in the Beltsville area in the past 25 years. And that is Vansville. And the reason I was hesitating is because it breaks my heart to say that Vansville is pushing somewhere between 20 and 25 years of age. I'm not going to tell you how long we waited for it. Then we still have the oldest high school in the county that's never been rebuilt and renovated. And I can tell you that personally, Chief Green said to me, Karen, this assessment might come out and say it is better for the community to get a new building. Wouldn't you like a new building? And my response to her was, you are unfortunately talking to the wrong person. I'm still waiting for High Point. So no, I am not, and so I don't want to see this community buying into, we're going to give you a shiny new building with a ball field and all this other nice, fun things for people to do. The money she's wasting on dangling a shiny new building here should go to staffing the existing career, county, and volunteer stations, and not dangling shiny new buildings that could potentially divide our community in half on a shiny new building or keeping the existing one. And that MOU is the most disgusting, obscene land grab I've ever seen in my life.
President Lex, did you want to address anything?
No, I'm afraid I'll get in trouble if I do.
You said it all.
Everything we've heard here tonight and everything Margie has told you all is the truth. We don't get consulted this till the last minute, and it's, for me as president of the association, this last thing of them pulling career service out of Berwyn Heights and Greenbelt. She told me, we don't generally even notify the association because it's an operational issue. But that's what we get. We get, this decision was already made. So, and this is how this particular fire chief operates. No notice, here it is, have a nice day. And that's unfortunate, because there are many things that probably could be solved through better negotiation and more conference between the volunteers and the career side. Unfortunately, the union also is another factor that drives a lot of this problem. And if you're not a member of the fire department, and I don't mean to insult any of you, but if you're not a member of the fire department, you don't know what we go through on a daily basis on this. It's terrible. I am a life member of Glendale. I joined 58 years ago. I was 16 years old. That's no longer a thing in this county anymore. 16's too young. I'm sure my mother was a little upset, but my father was already president of the association when I joined. So my brother and I didn't think twice about it. But these are things that it's very unwelcoming in this county now. Very, very unwelcoming towards volunteer firefighters and volunteer EMS providers. And that's why we lose people. We lose people to other counties: Calvert County, Charles, St. Mary's, Montgomery, Howard, Anne Arundel. And even Howard and Anne Arundel and Montgomery have career services also, but it's not as bad as it is here. So that's just a little bit of a background. There's, we're just not informed in a timely manner. They, as you heard Margie say, they wanted them to just blindly sign that agreement without having any assessment done, any of that. And I was told about this thing coming on, once again, as this is what's coming. I believe this particular chief has a tendency to mount a bunch of small problems together to make it look like there's a giant problem. Are there deficiencies in this building? Absolutely. But there are deficiencies in a lot of buildings. Are there things that look a little bad? Absolutely. But in my reading of this assessment, a lot of that is cosmetic. So that's about all I have to say about it. There a lot more can be said, but this is what you're hearing from Margie, is what happens to the volunteers in this county now.
Have we heard these other communities speaking up yet, or?
No, I'm hoping that the publicity from meetings like this will get out to these other communities, so that they will get behind their community firehouses the way you all have. And I applaud every one of you for being in this meeting today and being behind the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department. We need more communities to get involved.
And I will add to that, if you will. Accokeek is now, the Greater Accokeek Civic Association is involved. Because in Accokeek, it's the southernmost point in the county, all you got is a volunteer fire department. And they do have career staff in that department. But the community now is corralling around that fire department as well, because there are issues there. And I'll mention Accokeek, the Greater Accokeek Civic Association is planning to host a town hall on September 18th and will invite everybody. So I actually live in Accokeek. So we're hoping that you all will come down and visit us down south so we can bring this all together.
I will be there.
I will also tell you the community over in the 8th Precinct, northern area, over in District 2, they're now engaged. I was invited to one of their civic association meetings just recently to explain to them what's going on with our volunteer departments. So yes, the county is getting engaged. There is one community I would love to see wake up and see what's happening because it's home with one of our busiest fire departments. That would be in Suitland. Silver Hill Volunteer Fire Department is right now battling a lawsuit from a career firefighter. And I don't share that with you to create animosity, but I just want you to know how bad it is. When you have volunteer fire departments defending themselves in circuit court against allegations from career firefighters, and this conflict could have been resolved in-house, but the county fire chief chose not to exercise her rights under the labor union agreement to resolve the issue before we ended up at the courthouse. So when I tell you it's bad, it's bad. And for those of you who didn't get to see the news last night, Greenbelt's engaged. I will say Bladesburg has been engaged for a very long time. The communities for the 4 firehouses who are losing career staff over the summer, they're all in it now. New Carrollton, the mayor, is speaking up. So yes, the community is now beginning to learn about what's happening.
I guess if you hear of meetings, if you could get them to Rick.
Absolutely.
And he could put them out on the wire so we can attend
Absolutely.
those meetings as
Hey,
well.
Mark, what can we do? What action can we take that'll give the most power? What can we do?
The first meeting that we had, the amount of people that showed up, and actually forced her to give you answers. That's what we need to continue to see, is just the support of our communities so that the leaders of our county, the county executive, the county councilman, the county councilwoman, so that they know that our communities are aware of what's going on. And oftentimes, our council people are not aware of what is going on with the fire department because decisions are made and everything goes along status quo. For years, the volunteers have just dealt with it and worked harder to make things work. We're at the point where our funds have been taken away from us over the last couple of years. Some of our funding has been reduced. They're now proposing to take some of our ambulance billing funding away from us so that the county can get a bigger portion of that. And the volunteer fire system in Prince George's County is at a breaking point right now. So the only way that we can overcome that is with the support of our communities to stand up and make sure that our council people take note that we provide a service that's free. I've been a volunteer in Prince George's County for 32 years. I did not grow up in Prince George's County. I came to Prince George's County. I've been giving my service for 32 years to this county for free. And I never thought it would be to the point where I had to actually beg to be able to give someone free service. And that's where we are now.
Okay, so I have a question. How many volunteer firehouses are there?
There are 36 volunteer fire corporations.
How many are still staffed by career?
I think there's 7 that are all volunteer. There are 7 that are all volunteer, so the rest of them do have some complement of volunteer and career.
How many have closed in the last 5 years? Do you all know that? Like, how many have been driven out? I guess what I'm seeing here, what I'm hearing here tonight is that they don't really want volunteers. They don't want you here. They want to take your land and they want us to pay for it. The problem is you don't have enough people. They can't pay enough people. They can't hire enough people, but they still want to throw away the people who are willing to do it for free.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
So what are those numbers? How many have they already killed? How many are they trying to get rid of? Like, I think that's the information that we need to get to people. Our county's robbing us. Our county is robbing our local communities of our land, our money, and our people.
Yes.
And our safety, yes. But
One question I will answer definitively. How many volunteer fire departments have we lost in the last 5 years? One. Seat Pleasant is no more. And there was a battle for a bit over who was going to take the firehouse. The city of Seat Pleasant won, because that firehouse sits right next door to their municipal building.
And then I also heard you say that they're now excluding you from fire training and things like that. I mean, is that true?
Our fire training is given to us through the University of Maryland.
You said something earlier about the Volunteer Association not being part of something.
The Prince George's County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association is the administrative board that speaks and represents the 36 volunteer fire corporations. For, I don't know how many years, we have held an office at the Fire Services Building in Landover so that our administrative president, I'm the treasurer of the association, the secretary, can do their work, and we house our documents there because it is a corporation. It's a 501c4, and we do have corporate documents. Over the last 6 months, President Lutz has been working with Chief Green to try to come to an agreement so that we can maintain an office in that building, but she has been adamant that she doesn't have space for us in that building any longer. So last week, I think it was, President Lutz was notified that we had been moved out of that office and our documents were moved into a storage trailer in the parking lot. So in essence, the association administration, not operational, was moved out of that building.
Anybody else who would have done that, that would technically be stealing your property. They moved your property without your permission, and you weren't evicted, you had no eviction notice. I mean, how is that not stealing?
And they were corporate documents that were moved to a storage facility with no locks
Yeah,
in Prince George's County.
I went out and bought locks to put on that storage container. That I asked them one thing, because I knew this was coming. I've been talking to, and myself and First Vice President Wells have talked to the fire chief a number of times about this, trying to come to some agreement to stay in that building, a space which we were given back in 1985 when Chief Ron Sarnicki was the fire chief of Prince George's County. We were given the space so that all the divisions of the fire department, us, the career side, and the fire commission could all be in the same building together. The chief has adamantly refused to allow us to stay there. So I asked them one thing, because I knew we were going to be gone. I asked them to call me, and I provided my phone number to them, to call me when they were going to move it. I found out Wednesday night that they moved us into the container.
You should consider filing a police report.
Well, it's...
No, in their face, file a police
The
report.
county won't file against the county, you'd have to go to the state.
Yeah,
My dad's a lawyer. He
it's,
worked in a-
that's the one thing I asked. So I went out Thursday and got locks and put on the trailer so that our stuff would be locked up. That's what we deal with as volunteers. I asked them one thing to notify me so that I could be there to oversee this, because I knew that we were going into the container, because she refused to allow us to have a space in there. So unfortunately, they did not, they notified me after the fact. But that's what happens.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How does Chief Green get to be selected and remain in the spot? And also, I think pressure needs to be put on Jolene Ivy, the chair of the county council. Heavy pressure on her. And I wonder if anything, is this connected to developers? Because there's a lot of stuff going on in the county council about developers and certain county council members that are going forward with some development that will create more sprawl and not helpful for our county, which will create more problems for the fire departments and police.
I'm not sure about the development. Chief Green is appointed by the county executive, Ms. Alsabrooks, and then she is confirmed by the county council. So it is an appointment from the county executive and confirmed by the county council is how the fire chief in most jurisdictions is selected and appointed. I think this is perfect.
So, I'm wondering, I wish there was more people here tonight. And I thought about this before. If I knew how to do it, I would do it. But you have people in this county, in Beltsville and Vansville, who are disabled. On my street, I have one lady who is blind. Two, I know the other person's in a wheelchair. These are people who really need to have emergency services readily available. Have we as a unit here, a body here, thought about contacting, not just for here, but for all the stations, as people with disabilities, to get them also to be interested and to attend? I mean, just a thought.
Yes, as we stated before, the only way that we can get any resolution, you all were our attraction. Our communities is what gave us support. Our community is what enabled us to get to the point that we are. Our communities are the ones that rallied enough that our career staff is still here. So your voices were heard. I hope that they continue to be heard. We cannot do this just as a volunteer organization ourselves. We continue to need you. So contact your council people. Contact your local community politicians, if anyone is here from outside of Beltsville, because I know we don't have them. But just continue to be heard. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I've been taking a few notes, and I've heard some of this that's been going on. First of all, Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department is not only our institution in the community, but it's a business, and it's been operating since 1947 and been doing very well. Okay, so that is on the backs of everyone who's been here in the past and who is still here currently. And I have to applaud Margie for all she has done, and also Tanya for all she has done. I don't even, we're not close, but I know you've been working and getting us lots of information. Board of Directors has been collecting data so that we can present that, because data is what moves people. The other thing is we can't do this individually. We have to have an action committee, and that action committee has to establish goals, and we have to know who we're going after. The staffing seems to keep coming up. And so I understand there's a staffing deficiency in the department, and whose responsibility is that to fill? So I don't see anyone actively recruiting to get staffing for fire departments the way they used to. There should be a lot of publicity to do this. We should be going into the high schools. We should be offering our volunteer hours to the high schools, which is mandatory for them to graduate, for them to come to the fire department. So there's lots of things that aren't being done. So because your staffing is decreasing, we're now going to take action that is going to negatively impact on the community. That's the problem. As an emergency nurse of 46 years, I'm extremely concerned about response time, because people who are having heart attacks and strokes or are in arrest, response time is critical for their survival. So response time is heart, response time is brain, response time is life. So data about what impact it would be if we had decreased response time because of departments being closed, that needs to be publicly talked about. It seems like the continued stumble block that I keep hearing about is Chief Green, okay? I do wish she was here because I'd love to talk to her, okay? But If she's the stumbling block, we need to go up and around her. Follow the chain of command, but get above her. Because she's obviously not able to, or willing to, or capable of taking an appropriate action which protects us all. So, hold on, still have a few more. Okay, so there's strength in numbers. If we join together with everyone in all the fire departments in Prince George's County and prevent a united front, that's a lot stronger than us doing it individually. That is what is going to turn the tide. And I've been down to Annapolis, I've been on Capitol Hill for other issues, and I can tell you that they listen, especially when you come as a united front. And that's what we need to do. I think that's it.
So again, I have the assessment report if anyone's interested. Please see Janice and put your email address on it. Everything else that I've disclosed this evening, some of that information was in the assessment report, which you will be able to find. Other information I shared is in the capital improvement projects for the county fire department. So that's all documented. You can find that information there. The other information on the timelines that I gave you is all my emails, so I have it all in black and white. And the information on what a mandatory referral is. I found it online, so that's all in black and white. So everything that was discussed tonight, I have documentation here that can back up everything.
Margie, thank you. Rich Melito, Brentwood Volunteer Fire Department. We are the Brentwood Fire Department at the Bunker Hill Station. I am losing my career staff. A couple things I'd like to say, get what Margie brought up. The nice thing about all her letterheads at the bottom, one community, one department, one minority. I'm sorry, if we're 1 and 1 together, why are we getting? Yeah, I can't say it because some people take. My daughter called me from Ocean City. Don't be stupid.
Don't say that.
Yeah, don't be stupid tonight. Now, you asked about staffing. You asked about the county's trying to hire 150 people in this year's budget next year. Trying to hire. A class started June 3rd. 53 people. 4 no-shows. 1 guy quit the first day. That's 10% loss of a 30-week course. You've lost 10% already. You haven't even got an injury or anybody else that quits or whatever. Day 1. Okay? I don't know how many people can afford a $46,000 job one day and say, oh, heck, I don't need it tomorrow. Because that's what the starting salary is, plus benefits. The insurance guy tells me from the time they're hired, their benefits and everything, until retirement, the day they die, we pay them $1 million. She talked about rehabbing stations. Something the county doesn't know. I'm not a volunteer long. I've only been in '84. My father-in-law was a chief at Company 44, Chilma Delphi. That station, the property was donated by a family. 100-year lease for $1. That lease expires in 2045. The county, I'm sure, doesn't know that. So they're going to rehab it. Huh?
They know now.
Oh, I know. No, they don't know. They don't know. Because Chilma Delphi, Company 34, got their new ladder truck because they gave them the property. So it's an all-career staff at 44.
So basically what you're saying is they're dangling carrots for you to hand over your property.
Well, that's what's the other thing I'm getting with Marjorie in this MOU. I just came from, they combined 3 stations into one at 55. Cottage City, Comer Manor, Mount Rainier, and Brentwood. Cottage City, Comer Manor is no longer with us. But this MOU that she was blindly asked to sign, the bottom line being is, you step 1 foot out of that contract, the county now only wants to build and maintain buildings that they own the property and buildings. They don't own the property and buildings. All they do is maintain this. She wants to do everything. As Leela says, we got this, had a phone conversation, board meeting Tuesday night, the 4th of June. This is going into effect June 7th. When did we get notified? 6 o'clock Tuesday night. That this letter's coming out June 7th, and by the end of June 30th, you don't have career staffing in your station anymore. And we all agree, if you lose career staffing, you ain't getting them back. So, as she said, and I hate to say this, we talk about the 16 ladder trucks that she wants to run this county with. Margie, truck 31, third due ladder truck in an apartment fire in Brentwood. If you know where Brentwood is, come up Rhode Island Avenue. When you get to Eastern Avenue, you just past the fire. That's how 31's truck, Beltsville's truck, was going all the way down there. And this is not the first, the second, the third, the fourth. Let me keep counting. She can't run this county. She also told us, again, the phone conversation, we're going to lose the career staffing Monday through Friday. They'll be there on the weekends. I don't need career staffing on the weekends because I got volunteers that don't work Monday through Friday, 7 to 5, 8 to 4. So they're going to bring them back to my station. Now the letter comes out, oh no, I'm losing them all together. But this is temporary. Again, there's nothing temporary in this county. The problem is, this is what she says, I went to the county council and got this approved. That's what her words were to my chief and president. I'd like to ask the county council if they were here, did she come to you and ask this and got your approval to do this summer staffing problem? I think she's talking out the other end of her body. Thank you.
One quick comment. I think the next meeting that we have, again, this rolls downhill. Angela Alsobrooks is the next one. She's running for Senate.
Right.
This is our community. She needs to hear us and what our problems are here.
She knows what's going on.
So I know she needs to get here. She needs to get here. We need to send a formal invitation as soon as we know we got another meeting scheduled to have her here.
30 seconds. Good evening, everyone. Last time I talked to for a few seconds, and today I want to talk our citizen first, our safety first, because county should be improved anyway. These our 29 years here. Whatever I want to move several times to other county because our life not really improved. But I'm standing always with our citizen, and I want to somehow I talk to our Senator Rosapai and other county member. We want to improve. Anyway, our citizen, I see the anger and pain, and our career service firefighter. We have to keep and always improve. I want to support, and I want to my support. I need all together we can do better. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Me and my family, we're fairly new to Beltsville. I did find out, thank you. Did find out about this fire department issue, so we came out tonight. I do have one question related to, I know staffing has come up a lot, and it does seem like there aren't enough career firefighters in the county, and that I agree with what you said about recruitment. I'm a high school teacher, so I understand that. But what's the career firefighters union position on the volunteers departments going away? Because I feel like, I mean, as a teacher, I'm like, hey, people want to volunteer, come to these classrooms, y'all come on. Y'all can work for free, y'all come on. So I'm curious as to, is this some type of response trying to placate their union? Does anybody know what's going on?
This whole issue is not a career volunteer issue. The volunteers that we have here work hand in hand with the career staff that we have here. On a daily basis, we have several of our career staff that work on the fire apparatus, and a couple of them that work on the ambulance. And when our volunteers are in the station, we supplement that staffing and work hand in hand with them. So it is not a career volunteer issue. I'm not sure where all these issues have originated and why they are all of a sudden falling downhill now. Years ago, when there was a huge overtime surplus, when Chief Jones was the chief, he needed to make some decisions to reduce the overtime budget because he had surpassed what budget he was given. He actually came to this fire station and told us what he needed to do to achieve reducing his overtime budget. He got our buy-in, he got our commitment to staff the station on certain days without career fire department or firefighters and EMTs so that they could be reallocated somewhere else. He never talked about shutting everything down, but he did work with us on our leadership versus his leadership to come together to be able to work it out to provide our citizens with the services that they deserve. That's not occurring nowadays. So.
That makes sense.
I just say one quick thing. I don't know when you planned this, but I just heard about it like I think Tuesday night, so I made quick arrangements. I'm not loud enough. But I guess when it's posted, if you see it, share it on every social media app you have so more people can be here. Like finding out, if you find out Wednesday night, it can be, the more notice you have, the easier it is to try to get somewhere.
Yes.
Especially people who work nights and have crazy schedules. But if you see it, share it on all your social media. Because I think then we can get more people here.
Yes.
I think it was Karen, I saw your post on Nextdoor. And then I shared that one. And then I shared it on Facebook.
It doesn't just need to be shared with the residents. From wherever you work, you need to share it with the businesses. You need to share it with your churches. You need to share it with everyone. Somebody mentioned Jolene Ivy. No, the buck stops at the top, and the top of our pyramid here in Prince George's County is our county executive, and all of this was sat on, hushed up, covered up. I'm not saying politically correct things. I'll get in trouble again. So what? All of this conveniently remained silent through the primary, and they're going to try to do it again through the general election. Last week, the city of Greenbelt, when they had a work session, I watched that work session. The mayor of Berwyn Heights was on that. I've had conversations with the mayor of College Park. Everyone up the Route 1 corridor, all of the municipalities, that all of these elected officials who we would think, don't talk about Beltsville not being incorporated. Hell, they're not treating the municipalities any better than they've treated the unincorporated areas. But we all do need to come together, and I'm just telling you, because this is not getting the media. A lot of people do not realize the staffs that are being pulled. Let everyone and anyone that you know, these changes are coming because lives are going to be hurt. Somebody talked about, the response time. Well, when this first happened here, I put out information and I picked the mileage difference from the schools in this community and the mileage from Laurel, College Park, Greenbelt, 41. And I was told I was giving out misinformation. The reason I was giving out misinformation is because, well, Karen, we calculate things differently. This was my conversation with Chief Green. And I said, I'm doing everything on a level playing field. What I put out was, if the apparatus is coming from any one of these stations, everybody starts at their home base. Vanceville gets screwed the most because they are like 8 miles from everything. So their mileage alone, and the chief had the audacity to tell me that didn't factor in. So that's what that's the other thing we're up against. But I'm just a dumb, stupid female. What do I know about things? But I have to remind myself that occasionally.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think hopefully we've answered everybody's questions. I think you have an updated timeline now. I know I've been trying to keep everybody updated on the Beltsville news, because that's one of the only media outlets that's actively let us participate time and time and time again. Again, if you need any of the documentation that I've taken my information from, I can either tell you where to get it, or if you leave your email address, I'll send it to you. I thank you all for coming out, and please, please continue to give us your support and contact our elected officials to make sure that they know that we know and that we need and deserve fire and EMS services throughout the county.
September 18th. Is that at the firehouse? Yes, at the firehouse. I think it's probably like 6 or 7 in the evening.